come on automatically now. They come on automatically.
Mine didn't. But now it is.
You're gonna control them on and off.
I got mine on again.
'Cause I turn mine on and they keep turning off, yeah. Not sure why, okay.
Again.
All right, so let's go ahead and call the meeting of the Library Commission to order at 7 PM. And we'll go ahead and get started with roll call.
Commissioner Koopman,
Here.
Commissioner Hayes,
Here.
Commissioner Wall,
Here.
Commissioner Willers,
Here.
Commissioner Morocco,
Here.
Commissioner Hall.
Here. All right, and let's do the salute to the flag. We have Commissioner Hayes, would you mind leading us in the
I
salute?
did it last
Oh,
time.
you did it last
Yeah,
time?
last 2 times, actually.
Oh, well, we can pick someone else. Commissioner Willers, do you want to go ahead?
Everybody's going to help, I hope.
Yes.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and move to D to approve the order of the agenda.
So moved.
Did we have any,
What?
you have any comments, anything? Nope, we're good. And blue folder items. Did we have any blue folder items?
There are no blue folder items.
So that moves us down to the consent calendar. Was there anything here that anyone wanted to pull out for discussion?
Yeah, I might as well pull out item F2, and it's more to ask a question.
Good, okay, so let's go ahead and then have a motion to approve the consent calendar minus F2.
I move that we approve the consent calendar excluding F2.
I'll second.
Okay, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? And we didn't have any blue folder items. So then let's go ahead and move on. Do we have any public comment?
Well, why don't we do the excluded item that it pulled?
Oh, yes, sorry. Excluded item, F2 for the minutes.
This is more towards staff. When I notice in the minutes that we don't vote on them actually until after the public comment, but it seems the way it's presented in the minutes, we're voting on it before public comment. So I don't know how the minute person wants to address that, but
Okay.
I saw that in multiple locations. So I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Any other corrections or anything that were needed for the minutes?
I did have one on page 4 of the minutes. Item K on page 4. It says library direction, thank you, or it should be library director, thank you. Not,
Thank you.
probably not a material change to the minutes themselves, but
I appreciate that. Thank you. That was close. It was almost our first approved without error. We're going to keep shooting for 100% though. Thank you.
This was pretty close, yeah. Okay, so then do we want to have a new motion to approve these minutes with the one correction?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of February 4th with one correction.
I second it.
Okay, all those in
February
favor?
5th.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Any opposed? That motion passes as well. And that will bring us then to H for any public comment.
There are no attendees or e-comments for this item.
Okay, thank you. So to I, did we have any items continued from the previous agenda? No?
No.
Okay. So then items for discussion, director's report.
Okay, so got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's see. So as far as our vacant positions, I would like to introduce Becca McNeely. She is our new part-time administrative coordinator.
Welcome.
She is sitting in today with Rosalia Vega from City Clerk's Office, who is running our Zoom meeting. So thank you both for attending. Definitely boosting our numbers. We appreciate that greatly. We're still working on the other positions, but we should be soon, hopefully, recruiting for library page. The other positions we're still kind of working on as far as the possible either reclassification or retitling of senior librarian. And then you can feel free to stop and ask questions at any time. The library archive, for those of you following this adventure, DigiLab was an SCLC grant that provided us the opportunity to scan and store our historic archives. That grant ran out last year, so we were pursuing an avenue to retain that data and presentation. In speaking with staff, they really liked the Montage software and felt that it was very accessible and also presented the items very well. So we wish to continue that service. So we had to then work in an agreement with the company Autographics to continue that agreement for at least another year. And those archives should be back up. The only two components that we're working on is I think the URL still says SCLC and the graphic in the upper left still says SCLC. So we're working on upgrading that image and the URL, but we felt like it was more important to get the archive back online and then work on those intricacies a little bit later. But we're happy to have those available to the public. Last month, I met with the cultural arts manager, Gary Margolis, to discuss outreach at the museum. We've been invited to do outreach at the Redondo Beach history celebration, birthday celebration, I should say. So I'm coordinating with staff to see who's available to do outreach at that particular program. I think that'll be exciting if we can make it work to promote the library at that event. So we're cautiously optimistic. Also got a nice little tour of the museum, which is beautiful. A lot of items there. And I was talking to Gary about how we could promote the museum. I know they're interested in getting additional visitors that way. So the more we can do to kind of help promote the museum, the better. So I think that was a first step in building, I think, a strong relationship with the museum. So that had, on balance, a very favorable outcome. And they have a lovely space there. I don't know how many of you have been to the museum. I would definitely recommend it. It's a beautiful building. And like I said, a lot of, I don't want to say relics, but a lot of important pieces of historic items with a little description of what they're about. They have wonderful docents. So we're, like I said, we're excited about continuing that relationship. So we also, weekly, we have a managers meeting that you'll see. So I invited Lila Omura as the city's homeless navigator to come and talk to the managers about resources between staff and the homeless navigator. We have made a lot of referrals, and she keeps us updated on when she's had a successful housing situation. So over the last few months, she's certainly helped some of our patrons get into either the pallet shelter or other temporary housing. And we just want to be able to make our staff more aware of the resources and how best to direct them to their services. Again, on balance, it's been a very positive relationship, and I think we've together had a big impact on some people's lives. So we're very happy to have that information and information sharing. The other item on here is I met with some staff at community development. There are 2 boys and girls restrooms currently in the youth services area. We are, first the concern came that we were interested in installing a changing table. And then because of the way the bathrooms are configured, it's not physically possible to do that. They have stalls. So what we're doing now in an effort to assist our patrons is to look at possibly remodeling those restrooms to become gender-neutral family rooms. So we had to meet with community development, and we're pursuing that. We'll know a little bit more about whether that's feasible, how much it would cost, what the specifics are to come to code. It's not my expertise. That's why we consult the experts. But, we're excited about that potentiality. They're both working now just fine, but currently parents have to, if they're in need of a changing table, they have to go out to the adult public restrooms where there is a changing table. And we just felt like it'd be more customer service friendly to have those near the story time room and near the youth services area. So we're pursuing that. Again, I don't have any perspective on cost, but we will hopefully have an update for you with more information on that. Tim Parker, Technical Services Librarian, and I met with Overdrive staff. We're evaluating our ebook content platforms with the hopes of potentially moving to one, well, I wouldn't say one platform, but currently we have Cloud Library through Biblioteca, and we also have Overdrive Libby, which is actually under the umbrella of Amazon. The big benefit with Libby is the fact that that app is available for the Kindles. So all the other devices seem to play pretty well with the apps, but if you have a Kindle, you pretty much have Amazon or Libby as an option. You can't download Cloud Library or Hoopla. So we're evaluating all of our channels, but we're interested in kind of consolidating instead of having folks jump from one platform to another. Cloud libraries, one of their advantages are they have resource sharing. So if you are working with a partner library and they want to share their e-content with you, you can navigate and get that content through the app. To meet that challenge, Libby has also developed a way so that you can input other local library cards and access into the Libby app. So if you have a county card or whatever local library has Libby, then you can gain access to a larger collection. So we think that that's somewhat on par with Cloud Library, but we continue to look at our avenues there. I would say by and far, most people are familiar with Libby. So we're interested in looking at that. What would that look like once we choose a specific resource? Then we work with the vendor to migrate all of the titles to that platform. So if we were to move to Libby, the Cloud Library titles would all go over to the Libby app. So we would retain our investment in those e-resources. They wouldn't go away. It's a little bit challenging because as you migrate that material, all the licensing information has to also migrate. So the number of circs, a lot of the materials are limited to the number of circulations, or some of them are limited to a specific time period. When I first started ordering ebooks, we'd purchase an ebook and we would have it for basically infinity. Most of that has gone away. The publishers have put some restrictions on the lending. But we're looking at that, and we're certainly open to input as far as the which way to go as far as Cloud Library or Libby. Right now, we're not looking too much at Hoopla because Hoopla is really a different system where the advantage with Hoopla is that any item that you want is available. So they have simultaneous usage for titles. Whereas in Libby or Cloud Library, if an item is checked out and you only have one copy, it's checked out just like a physical book. But the advantage with Hoopla is they have materials. If I want to check out the latest Grisham and you do too, we both can check it out simultaneously. It's on a way different system than the Cloud Library or Libby. Let's see. I was on an interview panel for assistant library manager, and yes,
Before you move on from that.
yes.
Is there different content on Cloud Library and Libby, maybe more newer content, or what's the benefit of having that? Because
I would say that by and large, Libby and Cloud Library have roughly the same content available to purchase for our users. Hoopla, I believe, has some material that is licensed through them that is just on demand, like I said. They've also implemented a process where you can purchase materials and do the circulation, like I said, one item at a time. That's certainly something to look at, but then it kind of defeats the purpose of having a bunch of items that are on demand regardless of circulation status. But yeah, Cloud Library and Libby both have access to most all of the major publishers.
okay.
So I thought it was interesting on the thing you sent with the stats. So magazine readership, well, is it magazine ebook or on here on this chart?
Yeah.
It's double what it was all of last year for the first 7 months. So I wonder what the push might have been from.
I should also mention that we've been using Libby primarily for periodicals, although I think there is some ebook content there. I'd have to double check on that. But it is interesting, yes, the increase in usage, and I don't have any details as far as why that occurred, but maybe there was a really good issue of time. Well, to be honest, they did recently license, I think, Time Magazine. So as they acquire major publications, I think they promote an increased usage.
Yeah, because it went from like July through September is 200, 300, and then all of a sudden it jumps to 800 in October.
Wow.
So
Well, that's something I
interesting,
think
yeah.
we'll investigate.
But it's steady. It's October, November, December, January, are all 800 or close. So it's interesting that it jumped, and who knows why.
When the Person of the Year issue came out.
For time, it's usually November, I think, or December.
Well, and I also have to double check, but I think they might have Consumer Reports. There's a lot of things, but I'll definitely take a look at
I
that.
just saw that, and I was
Yeah,
like,
definitely. Anything else on the e-content platforms? So I was on a panel for the city of Inglewood. That was, I appreciate them inviting me. And of course, if we ever need a reciprocation of that, we will definitely ask them. But it was nice to spend the day actually it was at Inglewood City Hall, which I had never visited before, up on the 8th floor. It's a beautiful facility. On the 28th, I met with Vector USA, who provided the cameras for Open Plus. I'm interested in getting a proposal together for the library so we can get kind of a cost estimate. There are many different ways to approach this, but certainly, potentially cameras in the lobby would be beneficial, I think, for staff and the public. Again, I want to reiterate that the surveillance is passive, so no one's actively watching. We would have to obviously put notices up, but it would be in case of an incident. One of the issues that we find, and I've had this at every library I've worked, if we have an incident with an individual that's maybe not following our rules of conduct, and if they don't comply, worst case scenario is individuals get banned, and every library I've worked at, individuals have gotten banned. It's hard to really convey to people, who that individual, we can give a name, descriptions are kind of rough in general, but, to follow up both with ourselves and law enforcement in case anything should come up, I think they would be beneficial. And certainly, by and large, it would be more of a deterrence than, actual having to utilize a lot. Also, I did ask them if it would be possible to look at the parking structure as far as maybe the driveway. So I'm working with them on that proposal. We're just very much in the beginnings. It would be probably a capital improvement project. I know there's a lot of competing priorities as far as capital improvements, but it'd be something I certainly would like to pursue in the next few years if possible, especially since we have them installed at the North Branch for the Open Plus. Any questions about that? So we also, periodically, we meet with the contractor that provides custodial services for the libraries. And I want to say that they've been doing a very good job as far as we're concerned, but they're very proactive. And like I said, we periodically meet with them to make sure that, the place is clean and presentable every day. So we keep that channel of communication open with them. Some of our key staff can actually text their general manager and they get the word out. So, occasionally we've had little accidents with Cheetos or something, and so they'll let them know that they need to pay attention to a particular area. But by and large, that relationship, I think, has been very beneficial to the library. And I think in addition to safety and security, I always want to make sure the library is a clean and welcoming place for everybody. So it's important that we continue on that. We had some wonderful programs over the last couple of months, but specifically I wanted to just highlight the program we had this last Saturday, which was the Water Replenishment District provides free programs that are basically revolve around eco-friendly type gardening type programs. So Saturday's presentation was on edible gardens. And I have to say, it was one of the biggest turnouts I've seen since I've been here. And that might get a little bit to our marketing in a little bit, but due to, I think, staff's efforts, we had, I think, 64 individuals attend that program. And it was a wonderful presentation. We have another one coming up next Saturday at North Branch because we're trying to balance programming between both branches. And that's on, I think, small space gardening. So we're hoping to have an equally successful program there. And as I said, through the Water Replenishment District, those programs are provided free. They work with a contractor that provides the programs for their agency, and then they work with local nonprofits to put those programs out together. So that was, I think, very successful for us. Library facilities, we continue to make progress. The doors at the main library, the sliding doors have been upgraded. Those are the ones obviously outside by the book drop. And then the inside swinging doors, the mechanisms were updated. We're still working on that. The last piece of the door puzzle will be the doors, double doors near the elevator, but just inside the library, not the external ones. Those have already been replaced, but the last piece will be those double doors as you make a right coming out of the elevator to go to the library. But those have been a long time coming, and we appreciate Public Works for their efforts in that. Also, our HVAC has been doing fairly well. I understand there has been some maintenance done on our HVAC for a while. When I started, it was very cold in the library. I'm happy to announce that we have no complaints about the temperature in the library, which is nice. For a while, Amy was telling me that she would bring in sweaters for the programs in case it got too cold. So we haven't had to pull out the sweaters in a long time. So that's good news. Library web pages, we continue to work on the library web pages. I think that they're good, but they can always be better. We added interlibrary loan procedures, and we added the suggest a program and suggest a purchase to the pages as well. And under contact us, we have not just our phone numbers, but the email address that I've been monitoring since Aaron's retirement. So we receive all sorts of anything that's circulation. Sometimes we could get, we also get, potentially facility issues. And then we had one person email us I think it was Thursday or Friday, that they were anticipating a large group that they had coordinated to meet in Manhattan Beach, actually on the beach, 60 some individuals. And they said, due to the weather, they wanted to know if we had facilities. And I said, we're already booked to both locations. So, and plus we need a little lead time, but I did give staff a heads up just in case 60 some people showed up completely unannounced. But I hope that they were able to have a successful event. Public Wi-Fi, we adjusted the hours. Generally, public Wi-Fi has been set to a timer where it activates when the library opens and then just before closing turns off. But due to the use of the meeting room and what have you, we've asked that it be turned on at about 7, 8 a.m. I think it's 7 a.m. because some of the other groups have large meetings in the meeting room, and obviously public Wi-Fi is one of the big demands. So we've extended that service. Continuing to work on the ILS RFP. Hopefully I'll have that to fiscal soon, so we'll make an announcement once that RFP is open. The other item I wanted to quickly bring up was there was an article in the LA Times regarding the possible discontinuance of the park passes. So currently there are a lot of library advocates and environmental advocates trying to lobby to continue that program. As I understand it, if the program was to go unfunded, the park passes, I believe, would be good through the end of the year. But then they'd have to investigate alternatives as far as funding that program. And I was going to see if I can bring this up because I did ask if we could get a little bit of some numbers on that for you.
That's currently funded by the county, right?
That's a state library program. So this is just 30,000 view. But since we've had the park passes, our circulation shows that 187. They've circled 187 times. So I think that's a valuable partnership. I think it gives people that might not have access to the parks access. I think it works well. My hope is that it's included in the budget, or if it's not, maybe there's an alternative source of funding for the program because it is, like I said, popular and very unique, but I think innovative.
I don't think I know about this one. I don't know what the park pass is.
Oh, yeah, let me just explain briefly. So the state library had a pilot program that then they launched statewide where libraries could distribute and circulate park passes. So what those do is allow you access to state parks for free. And I believe there's a parking aspect of it too. So you get free parking. When they came out, I think they came out like 3 or 4 years ago, but they continue to be popular. And then I don't know if it's going to be impacted, but I think last meeting I mentioned that we applied and received a grant for these little backpacks that include like a flashlight, a compass, all these things that would make your trip to the park a little bit more adventuresome, I guess. But so we'll see. We'll definitely keep you posted on that. Tax forms continue to be hugely popular at the library. Scott in our acquisitions department has done an amazing job trying to keep up with demand. We just reordered and received, I believe, 800 of the 1040s. One of the most popular ones is a 1040 SR for seniors. And so that one we have quite a bit of demand for at the library. So I believe they ordered 800 in total for main library and 500 for the branch. Yeah.
I've always taken this for granted, but are those free?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have to say that we are one of the few libraries that still have hard copies. And quite honestly, I think it's a huge customer service service to our patrons because, certainly we could say, hey, there's all these different options. You can go online, what have you, but we still have a lot of demand for the printed forms. And like I said, we wouldn't run out if they weren't popular. So we reordered those, and I'm glad we provide the service. Anything else, librarians assist patrons with a public computer, and they can print out forms, and there's the cost per page. But we have free 1040s and free 1040 SRs, and those are, again, distributed by the IRS. So we get those at really no cost to us other than the staff coordination, of course. Fine free, the direction that I received on that was to direct that at the actual time for the full budget fiscal year. So my work will be directed towards that. Again, I think like with many of the things we're looking at, that's something that I can provide an administrative report. And based on the information I provided here, we can get direction as far as how to pursue that. But basically, the direction that I received was to bring that up when we get closer to fiscal, which, we just had mid-year. We met with the fiscal team, and we're doing well here at the library overall. I don't have the full spreadsheet in front of me, but overall, we're about 47% spent, which is pretty good for mid-year. We're on target. And I think we're doing well, but we can definitely bring that up when it comes time to start planning for next fiscal year. And the other thing that I wanted to mention was working with the Friends of the Library. Their book sale will be June 1st in the large meeting room. So we're coordinating that with the Friends, trying to provide them with, we booked the room for them. It's available. They would, I think they're going to need a couple of days setup time, but hopefully that'll be a successful sale. For the previous sales post-COVID, they used the story time room, which is pretty small. It's nice because it's on the first floor and it's easier to direct and advertise, but the second floor is really necessary for the large number of items that they want to put up for sale.
Will there be signage for folks that come in to direct them to the?
Absolutely, yeah. And when we get closer, we'll put it on our calendar of events, and we'll put it on the both the webpage and our printed copy. Any questions or anything regarding the director's report?
Few.
Yeah.
So back to the outreach you said you did at the History Museum. Did that already take place, the History Day, or that's upcoming?
That's upcoming.
Okay, when is that?
I sent Gary an email. It's the end of April.
Okay.
But I don't have it on my calendar. I thought it was the 29th, but I'll have to verify that information.
Okay. Is that something that you would also maybe advertise out on our social media and website, just to really encourage library patrons? Yeah, perfect. And then I was just thinking back to the exploring the different platforms for the ebooks, if there would be any value. I know we've done some surveys of residents in the past, if there would be any value in putting some questions on there about what the needs are in terms of how the community's accessing the ebooks, to see if that would help you make a decision on the platforming. I don't know if there's a survey that you're planning to do anytime in the near future. And then I know I was not here last meeting, so I might have missed it, but it sounds like did we get Open Plus actually running at North Branch? Not
I'm
yet.
sorry.
Okay.
We just, I'm sorry, I had that on my notes and I completely went over it. We had a meeting with Biblioteca last week before Tim went on vacation, and we just wanted to go through the checklist of things that we needed to make sure is open and running for Open Plus. So what Tim's going to do is get some training on creating the schedule, and then we're actually probably going to turn it on, and we're going to kind of troubleshoot it with staff, and then, like I said, probably open it up for a soft launch. I apologize for the delay, but we just had to make sure we met with the vendor and go over everything, just as you would with construction, make sure we checked off everything. So as far as all parties are concerned, everything is there. There are a few little intricacies. We're working with IT to get computer locks for the staff stations. I put in a work order to touch base with the electrician to see if we could put the lights on a timer. And maybe a little bit of signage, but by and large, we're ready to start it. So I will certainly make commission aware once we've turned it on and we feel comfortable.
Are we going to put any signage in the very large windows to show that it's now available?
In the large windows for what?
That open access is now available?
I think that's a great idea and something we could explore. I think we would probably work with our print vendor to see what we could come up with. Definitely something, yeah.
Great, so we're thinking sometime in the next couple of weeks, it sounds
Yeah,
like, to
I would
soft launch.
hope in the next 2 weeks we'd be able to turn it on. And then, like I said, within staff, kind of try it out, make sure, troubleshoot any sort of bugs. I don't anticipate anything, but turning it on. And then, like I said, if we can expand it a little bit to a few, volunteers. And then, like I said, a soft launch. I know that there is interest in a formal ribbon cutting. And I feel like once we're sure there's, then I think we could have that discussion. And I think that would be fun. And I think certainly of merit, especially with the amount of time invested in the project. So yes.
That would be great.
Are you including my councilman in the formal ribbon cutting for District 4?
I think that that's,
The library is located?
right. Well, I think that,
We would invite, yeah.
yes, I think I would rely on the support from,
Before I write to him and ask him
yeah,
if he's
yeah,
been
yeah.
invited
Well,
yet?
just, yes,
And they have newsletters too, by the way,
yes.
so they can get the word out.
I think that once we're a little bit more closer and more comfortable with that, absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
And then my last few things were really just, I think, on the budget and any letters that would be helpful for you from us. So it looked like in the meetings from the last, minutes from the last meeting that you had maybe said something for a cost of living adjustment for the collections budget.
Yeah, I still need to meet with fiscal on that. Like I said, we did have our mid-year, and I know they were working with each department. It's very nice and kind of them. But I'm working to address that with them first before we get a number. But I'm thinking that, when we look for support, it might be on one of these projects that we're trying to accomplish, because that would be outside the scope of our regular budget. It would be hopefully one-time funds to either remodel those restrooms or put cameras in at main library. Yes, and I need to work with them a little bit on that, and hopefully I'll have some more information, but we don't right now we're not requesting a letter at this time.
Okay. I just think timing wise.
Absolutely.
Because for the full year budget, that will be, we would have to probably do it at the council meeting in June,
Probably,
May.
yeah, so I'll have more information. at the
Yeah,
next
so I
meeting.
think we would, if it's not till our next meeting in April, we'd want to know then so that we can
Definitely.
make sure we get it to you in time for May. And it sounds like maybe we could even address fine-free if we have a larger conversation
Yes.
about that as well.
Right.
Sounds good. Any other? Yeah.
I've got several on my list too. I have a difficulty hearing you from this angle because you're right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, I'm going to actually, when we get to member referrals, I want to sit back into the real world over there because you don't make eye contact with the side of the room.
I'll do better.
But is there an update on the Breeze as far as where they're at?
As a matter of fact, I just spoke to the representative at the county. She said that they're finalizing their MOU between UCI. So every couple of weeks, I send an email just to see if an update, but that is progressing, is moving forward. that's obviously an important part of the project is to get that agreement. But I do think once they have that, then it'll be a matter of getting the resources, which we won't be involved with, but UCI staff would be then coordinating the pickup of the microfilm, the delivery to newspapers.com, and hopefully, then it's in their hands, and I know they're experts in digitizing historic newspapers, so we'll keep you posted, but that's my last update from the county.
Thank you. The other thing, I'm grateful that they got the historical information that with the postcards and everything like that. The newspaper part of it doesn't work as well as if you go into the digital resources for the newspaper. But I noticed that there was some historical books that came from the museum that have been posted up there. Aren't there copyright issues with regards to taking copyrighted materials and putting them into that?
Yeah, definitely. So that's something, if you have some titles, I'll investigate it, but usually there's a certain time period before it becomes public domain. There are certain restrictions, but there's also certain avenues. For example, if the publisher no longer exists, there are certain things. But if you have anything that's, please, offline.
Some of those books are from the 50s, so
Okay.
they
Yeah.
wouldn't qualify, as you pointed out the last time, 1926.
Yeah. Well, if you catch
Forward.
something, let me know and we'll.
And then you were going to come up with some sort of accounts receivable schedule on the library fines. Where is that?
Are you speaking more about the outstanding?
The $170,000 of fines that have over
Yeah.
multiple years.
I think our priority is to go fine free and then address that fund later on. But I do not have any updates on that at all. Right now, it's it's there, but it's not creating an issue for us. We might run into more issues if we try to absolve that. Certainly part of the ILS migration would be working with them to make sure all of those accurate records transfer to the new system if we go with a new system. But I do not have any updates on that.
Did you talk to the finance department people about writing it off?
No. I haven't brought that up simply because we've had a lot of competing priorities and it's just not, it's not causing an issue for us. Staff-wise, as I said, they're out there. It's not creating a problem. And, as you take a look at the director's report, we have a lot of competing priorities. It's something we can certainly follow up on, but, I think we've got a lot of other pressing matters. Thank you.
Can you remind me of the time frame over which this 170,000 has accumulated? Because clearly, over a certain number of years, the likelihood of collecting may be minimal anyway.
Absolutely. I think I'd have to get the numbers specifically, but in talking to Erin before she left, I think we're probably looking at 20 plus. It actually predates our current ILS system, and no one on staff, even Erin, doesn't remember the previous ILS. So certainly it's something that we will follow up on, but right now it hasn't been a huge priority for us. We've been working on mid-year budget, working on a lot of facility issues with the staff, staffing the way it is now and me taking over a lot of Erin's duties. It just hasn't been a huge priority for us, but we can certainly bring an update to you.
Okay, and then I think the birthday would probably be on Saturday, the April 27th.
There you go.
There we go. Thanks.
Thank you.
Usually on a Saturday, and it's
Okay.
usually, and the 29th is when the city got incorporated, so.
Okay, so that was the correct birthday, but the celebration will
But
be. on
they
Saturday.
haven't fixed the date from what I've heard so
Oh,
far.
okay, we're just happy to show up, hopefully have staff there, and we'd be happy to be able to put on a table.
Do you have a pop-up tent for that?
Well, no, we don't. And,
It is kind of sunny out there.
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
the
We would.
Friends have a tent.
They do, and for Hilaire's SRP kickoff, we borrow some of the easy ups from community services. So that's a good idea. We'll certainly inquire about them. Pretty heavy, so we want to make sure we get that loaded in a van and delivered. I always think that the easy ups are kind of an oxymoron because they're not, in my experience, never been easy to put up. I always pinch my hands on those little sliders, but good idea. Thank you. And I'll ask Claire about that since we're planning the kickoff. We might be able to borrow one.
And we had talked, I think, once about a pop-up library. The baseball fields are right there, so it would be a nice place to have some of your baseball books. So the kids during the breaks between can check out books or whatever.
Sure. I mean, that's something we could take a look at. Circulation wise, we have to work out, do we do manual checkout, which can be difficult and challenging, especially if people don't have cards. Then there's connectivity to the ILS, the physical move of materials. If we're interested in actually having physical books there, then, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's definitely logistics we would need to figure out. We currently do not have a bookmobile, but staff, I think, do an excellent job of doing outreach when they do the after-school nights. We can discuss a little bit more when we get to the marketing segment. But we're always welcome ideas, and we have a program suggestion form online. So if people want to suggest an event or invite us, we're more than willing to consider it. The only restraint that we have is really the operations, and that is that our primary operation is having a safe, secure library open during operational hours. We have limited staff, and having done the schedules now for a few weeks, it can be a challenge just scheduling the public desks. A lot of times people may or may not be available in off hours or on weekends. It's a challenge for sure. Not insurmountable at all, but something we'd have to investigate. I should also mention, I didn't mention this at the staffing, but we are coordinating interviews for part-time librarian, and that should assist us as well. We have a lot of applicants that we've reviewed, and hopefully with Becca here, we'll be able to coordinate those interviews and hopefully have some selections soon, and that should help us ease the constraints we have on scheduling.
And my last question, is there an issue with the self-checkout kiosks? Because my wife was complaining that there used to be one by the checkout desk and the other one doesn't necessarily function all the time. And is that something that you guys, I don't know what percentage of books get checked out through those things, but.
Well, I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but with the launch of Open Plus, I wanted to build in some redundancy for self-check. If that one machine went down at North, then you would just be out of luck. So in speaking with staff and having several discussions, we decided to move one of the self-checkouts from Maine over to the North Branch. We'll see how that works. If we feel like, they're robust or one self-checks isn't needed at North, but I feel like with a self-service operation, we needed the redundancy. And we couldn't at this time afford to acquire a new self-check. But if there's any issues with the self-check, please let us know. We do communicate with the vendor Biblioteca, and we can have a service representative come out and make sure. Now, in my time here, I haven't seen a line queue up at the self-check. It probably could happen, but if there's any issues with the self-check, please let us know, and we'll call the vendor out and have a conversation with them and get that working, because we do pay for service.
How much does that cost to have one of those kiosks?
That kind of opens up a larger discussion, because I'm not 100% sure they still sell those. Most libraries have moved to RFID. It is kind of antiquated equipment. I don't want to speak for the vendor, but in my experience, and it's just a ballpark, I think $20,000 to $30,000.
Because I know that Commissioner Koopman asked the last time about, is there something that the library needs that we can do a letter writing campaign with the mid-year or anything like that? And this sounds like it would be something that would fit into that kind of category.
Well, I think that's a good point. I do have a meeting with Biblioteca in the coming weeks to discuss the possible migration from our current barcodes to RFID. It's a delicate balance, because do we want to invest in antiquated equipment, or do we want to be a little more forward-thinking and work on a larger project to RFID the books, which would again be a longer investment, but at the same time, probably improve efficiencies. It would require the upgrading of the machines, but there is a lot more data you can get from RFID, but also it improves the self-check and staff check, because with RFID, you can check out like a stack of books at one time by simply sliding them over the plate. The cost of the RFID tags has gone down considerably. I think that that would be something we would want to investigate once we fill Aaron's position.
Do you have to put a tag in every book?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
And there's a funny story. One library I spoke to, they just put tags in with no barcode. And then when the system went down, they couldn't do the manual checkout. So, you kind of had to build in their redundancy. But, like I said, they do improve efficiencies. The cost has come down, and it's a project that you could probably invest in, and over time, RFID a place slowly but surely. My understanding is they actually lease machines that you scan the book and then it prints the RFID tag and you put that in the book. So over time, it's in theory, not as challenging as it used to be. It used to be the tags were about $5 a tag. Now I think they're down to like 10, 15 cents. Don't quote me on that. We're meeting with the vendor to get more details.
Any other questions or comments on the director's report?
Can I go back to a subject that we talked about, the Spanish books?
Oh, yes. That reminds me, I do need to follow up with staff on that. I mean, I think our Spanish collection is doing okay, but as far as youth services go, Hilaire's been investing some of her budget in the languages, but I think now that I feel more comfortable with the mid-year, we can go ahead and order those materials. In fact, I'll follow up with Tim when he gets back on vacation. So we should have an update for you.
Excellent, thank you.
Anything else?
I move we receive and file the director's report.
A second.
All those in favor of receiving and filing the director's report?
Public comment?
Oh, sorry, any public comment?
There are no e-comments and no attendees for this item.
And all those in favor?
Has there ever been a public comment?
Once or twice, it does happen, yeah. All right, so that is gonna move us to J2, discussion and possible action on library marketing.
Yeah, so again, kind of following up on some of the things that came up previous meetings. Again, my goal is to kind of address everything in as timely a fashion as we can. I know there was some interest in our library meeting room usage, which we're working on compiling that data for an administrative report. But there was interest in what the library does as far as marketing. So in talking to staff, I try to consolidate all the tools we use to market our collections, services, and programs. And hopefully you had time to read this, not very long. Again, a lot of it is contingent on staff time and budget as well. But does anyone have any questions regarding the report? Would you want me to go over it, or?
I have a question, a couple questions, actually.
Yeah.
The first thing you just said, it's contingent on staff time. I think we are willing to volunteer our own time. I'll speak for myself, but we're willing to help out in any way we can that promotes the library. So look to us as a resource if you need help. I think Commissioner Hayes says she has marketing experience, so
do I.
and Commissioner Willers is too, so take advantage of it. One of the things that and this ties in very well, you have that front room that's right across from the checkout desk that's being used as storage. And one of the benefits of actually going on the tour was that you have a lot of space upstairs to put the stuff in storage and utilize that as a more of a community room, and things like the digital signage or the promotional materials. That's a small enough room, but a big enough room that you could actually open to the public. You could have, for example, the oral histories that are the part of the collection. You could have a big screen and people can listen to it. You may have some nonprofit organization like the Scouts that want to do promotional stuff, but you could use that front room, either as a history room or whatever, to make it more of a community room when they're within the library itself. And that's my
Thank you.
thought on that at this point.
Sounds good. Go ahead.
When I joined this group, it was just as though the council was deciding whether to send our library to the county.
Right.
And I have never felt that, and now I go to my District 4 community meeting every time we have one. And I give a report on what's happening at the library. And I don't know if everybody here does that, but we need to be, I think, more proactive with our council members, more proactive with our police and firemen, because I get stuff in the mail from the policemen all the time, and I don't get anything from the library. And the police are promoting themselves up the wazoo.
So I think to take a step back.
Sure.
I think this was very helpful. Thank you, first off.
Exactly.
I think you guys have, I mean, I know you're trying to do a lot of things, and you're trying to accomplish a lot of goals, but I think it would behoove us to actually write like a marketing plan and say, what is the purpose of what we want to do as far as marketing? You know, who's the target audience? This, all the questions you go through. And then what are the programs that you have available and how can we implement those? And it looks like, I mean, I know you guys are trying to do a ton already, but there's a couple things, like the Instagram page is for youth services.
Right.
Is the tagline. So if I'm looking at them, I'm not going to sign up, follow it, because it's for kids, I'm
Right.
assuming. You know, and what do, you know, social media is kind of low hanging fruit because it's pretty simple to do. And, you know, how can we use those? The newsletter, I went to try to find it to sign up, and it's under current events on the website. So, you know, how do we use the current website to, you know, again, it's another tool that we have out
Sure.
there. And
I
you know
thought
what?
I put that on the homepage.
no, I just looked, I signed up
Oh, yeah,
today.
yeah, no, that's fine.
So,
So under events newsletter, then it should have a sign up.
it does,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
shouldn't be under current events, because that's a lot, you know, I was looking for a lot of other areas, but it's just more that I think, given the staff shortage,
Right.
that, you know, I know this is something that's, you know, not feasible probably at the moment, but, you know, the way, you know, the most successful campaigns like Facebook and Instagram are ones also that are not just shoving information out, but are interactive. And,
Right.
you know, one of the things on Instagram, like what's your favorite book growing up? You know, or something you do where people write back and you
Right.
post something. But again, it takes manpower, and I get that. So, but I do think before we run too scattered, that we actually sit down and figure out, you know, what is your goals, or what are our goals, you know, for a marketing campaign, and how can we use these different tools, given the current staff size, and then
Right.
B, if there's maybe, you know, an intern who comes in during the summer who wants to do your marketing, and how can we move forward with this?
What I was going to potentially or recommend was, I know some commissions have had success with subcommittees. So if commission were interested in forming a subcommittee on marketing, we could meet periodically and then report back to the general commission.
Should we meet in the periodicals? Library humor, come on.
Thank you. No, so I think that could be definitely utilizing commissioners' knowledge and expertise, and staff's knowledge of, like I said, budget and staffing. I do think, as I mentioned here, you know, the people that hear about the events, how did they hear about it? And we definitely and every department, you know, it's not just the library, everybody has limited time, staffing, and budget. So you want to effectively allocate those things to resources that actually deliver.
Yeah.
So even though, I have some experience with other libraries in promotion, I think it would be beneficial to kind of look at that and maybe form a subcommittee and maybe identify some goals and objectives and ways we could marketing wise get the information out there.
Yeah, even like, this, I just checked this out. To have, are you following us on Facebook? You can use your own tools. I assume you can write whatever you want on here. But I do think, I applaud you for all that you've already got going, because you have
A lot of things.
you have the base, which is a lot more than others. Maybe we need a different Instagram that's for adults too, but
Right.
something, yeah. And I looked at Manhattan Beach, they have 1.7, so they have, 1,700 followers on Facebook. I don't even know if, I tried to find their Instagram, they didn't really have one. So, I mean, it's not like we're years behind, it's just, this is probably in the rank of things you need to worry about, very little,
Right,
very low,
right.
but I think
And
it could help us.
And I do know, there's a whole bunch of considerations with, I think there's certainly you could say, well, we had a viral post, but what did that really do for us? Staff, I think, are certainly, like you read this, they're doing a lot of work to promote the events. We did a special email marketing campaign for the Small Garden, Edible Garden program, which we think did a good job of boosting folks. And in my experience, given their demographic, I know it sounds antiquated, but the email marketing campaigns really bring in the most bang for our buck. But certainly utilizing social media and finding out, I think when I was working at another library, we were able to do some demographic looks at our patrons, and we found by and large, most of our patrons were using LinkedIn, which kind of demonstrates the, demographic in the neighborhood. But, we currently, we'd have to follow the city's social media guidelines and be on approved channels, but it's something worth investigating, finding out where your demographic is and then trying to promote it there. Also, the other thing that's kind of a hidden avenue is, and this again gets complicated, but if and when partners can promote items at the library. So the Friends did what they could to promote, and I think a lot of the attendees came that way, but we wouldn't know unless we surveyed the attendees, and we'd have to work on creating a survey that would be both print and QR code to the survey online so we can kind of get a gauge. But that was one of the things I was going to say is, we did that for the budget letter. It might be productive to take a look at maybe forming a subcommittee for marketing. We've already done some of the work as far as laying down where we're at, and we could discuss utilizing commissioners' expertise, what we would do to evaluate where our public is, where we could best direct staff energy and time in.
And if it's worth, to be honest, if it's worth it at this moment,
Right.
because if, it depends on what your goal is. If
Right.
you are trying to drive more traffic to the events,
Right.
and it's, the Facebook is more of fluffy, because right now, like for me, if I'm going to follow somebody, I'm going to want to have regular updates and have,
Right.
get some information out of it. And if we're not going to use it, then, that's because of manpower.
Right.
That's like, okay, plan B, let's just keep this in the back pocket until we need to use it, or we can use it and use it correctly.
Right.
I move we actually form a marketing subcommittee of up to 3 members.
Sure. Happy to help.
So will I.
Second.
If we can't go more than 3 because of the Brown Act, right?
Right.
No.
So we need a second for the motion.
I'll second it.
There we go.
I'll second that.
Okay, so all those in favor of forming a subcommittee?
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. And so then I think that was 3 people that already said yes. So who wants to formally?
I can do it. I can be on it.
I would like to be on it too.
I think Chris would be a good person to chair it at this point.
I agree.
She's done the analysis already.
I agree.
Wonderful. Sure.
So who's the third person?
I don't have a problem doing it, but you give other people an opportunity if they want to.
I'm concerned that I'm trimming out this year, so that's my concern. If
You're
I do
leaving
it.
us.
I don't mean to be leaving you. Their commission is kicking me out.
Oh, I see.
No, I only have a few more months, so I don't know how beneficial I would be.
Okay.
We have almost 7 months. But you're on the end of September, that's when you
To get a lot done.
Your experience would probably be really helpful for the group, because you've been here the longest, I think.
That's probably true.
Okay.
I mean, but I would have to be, because my last meeting would be in August, because we don't meet in September.
Can I ask a question though?
Yeah.
For the subcommittee, we could also have, it doesn't have to be just these people here, right? Because we're going to, maybe if we had somebody who could help us on the social media side with advising. So even if she leaves,
As the subcommittee, you could, have
an outside person, so Grace could
discuss with
continue
you, yeah.
on as an outside person.
I think also if, once you term out, we could put a new third person
Right.
from.
But I'm just saying, but she
commission
also
on
could
the
be,
subcommittee.
it doesn't have to be like it's just a cabal of us.
That's true, right, you could have non-commissioned people on there.
Right.
And you wouldn't be
Volunteer.
violating any Brown Act.
Right.
or anything.
I would also move that we agendize having a subcommittee report as a regular feature of our meeting so that we can at least hear what the subcommittees come up with.
So when would we, I didn't bring my calendar.
We need a second.
Yeah, you need a second first.
Oh, I'll second it.
Okay. And all those in favor of adding the agenda item of the subcommittee report in future commission meetings?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great.
And I assume we
That
still,
motion passes as well. What's that?
assume we still have no public comment.
Yes, I also assume we still have no public comment. We'll double check.
The week of.
I'm trying.
Yeah, we just need.
There are no e-comments and no public.
I don't have
Comment.
everybody's
Thank you.
email, so
We all need to share our emails if we're going to have a subcommittee.
is that Dana, can you send
You all can
our
connect
emails
after
to,
the
or can
meeting as
everybody's
well.
email to us?
Yeah, but
not-
we all
not
should be moving towards the redondo.org
Oh, that's fine.
email addresses, so it's,
Oh, this we stand on there, okay.
right. So then it's just like my
Yep.
first name dot last name at redondo.org.
So is there somebody in your organization besides you who you would want to include?
I would definitely want to invite a couple of staff members to participate. I think, it's always challenging coordinating schedules, but I think having Amy's perspective from adult programs and potentially Hilaire's for youth, although we do utilize some of the excellent youth services staff to do some of those posts as well. But I think that if we could maybe offline, I don't think we have to necessarily set a date and time now, but we could offline try to schedule something, and at the very least, we could have one of those staff members there at the first meeting to kind of overview either the adult or youth side of things.
Well, how about if I send an email to Grace and Margaret and you, and I'll throw out like 5 dates that work for me or whatever, and
That's-
then we could see what,
Sounds good. I will
or is
just,
it more, for your staff, is it better during the day or evenings?
I just know that Wednesdays are not great. Usually Mondays and Fridays are good for us. And probably earlier is better, but we're
Or
flexible.
like in the morning, you mean, or evening, or?
In like 9, 10. Staff generally, full-time and part-time staff usually, their schedule starts at around 10. But Amy's part-time schedule, I don't want to speak for her, but she has some flexibility, so I think she could be available. And then we would work with Hilaire to see what time she could come in. I only say that because when we have late meetings starting at 7 o'clock at night, they can make for a long day. I'm just kidding.
So how about, we'll coordinate our end, we'll send you some
Yes.
dates and say these 5 work for us. So we'll
Yes.
first get those established and then we'll send it to you and then you can get with your staff.
Definitely, that sounds good.
The only thing that I, for the list of marketing we're doing currently that I noticed just wasn't here, so I want to make sure that we know that we did it, is under programs, flyers, posters, and printed calendars. We did purchase large banners that I know could go under the King Harbor sign. And then we had one that
Right.
could go along the wall, a large one along the wall of the library that I think were specific for promoting the summer
reading program. Right.
So those have already been purchased and we have.
Correct, and I did not include those. To be fair, would have to take a look at them again, but I think wear and tear, they're not looking too great. So it's something we could certainly invest. I mean, it would probably be good to maybe get something that's a little evergreen promoting the library.
I know when we talked about it last year, I believe, we said don't put a date on it because we wanted to be able to
Right.
continue to use it, but if it doesn't
Right.
last more than one
Don't I
year
remember
anyway.
we had
then-
them, like, something hanging outside in the library? That's
That
what it
was one of
Okay.
them, yeah.
Yes, but I think there's a lot there, and I think at our first meeting, we could certainly, put probably some names and titles to who's doing what, and, definitely flesh this out a little bit more, and then talk about what, the objectives of the subcommittee will be or should be.
Have you ever done like a read-off between like, Manhattan versus Hermosa versus Redondo?
No, I think several years ago they had I think it was one beach, one reads, and that was coordinated through the city of Redondo Beach. And then because the county oversees Manhattan and Hermosa, we partnered with them. That predates me, unfortunately, but
County libraries.
right. But yeah, certainly. I mean, these are things that we could bring up, and then in my capacity, I could bring that up to our SCLC group, which is the Southern California Library Cooperative, and see if there's any sort of interest there in that, and see how we would navigate. But that would be something we could discuss.
Sure. No, I was just curious.
No, but not to my knowledge, no.
Great. Well, thank you for all the information.
You're welcome. It was actually nice to put, pen to paper and review this stuff. I asked staff to review it, make sure I had just about everything other than the banners. I think we captured everything, and it can be very time consuming. And one thing I also want to say is that every one of these formats, I should say every one of these methods or avenues requires a different formatting. So when we want to promote something on the digital signage of the city, the two things we take into consideration, again, we could discuss at the meeting, but I'll finish my thought, is that it has to be configured for the horizontal screens. And then we also try to take into account the fact that it's not something that we maintain regularly. So we try to put things that are a little more evergreen on those, because, if we put something up like join a library program, join our mailing list, for example, put a QR code up there, then that can say static. If we say, hey, come to our gardening program on Saturday,
Right.
then, then we're concerned, we got to take it down and be timely. But the calendar of events, it's just interesting to note. It takes, I know, Amy a lot of time to put these into the calendar. She also uploads the flyer so that information is there. And she is, booking these things, 3, 6, 8 months ahead of time.
Is there cross promotion between the schools and the library?
In my experience, and I'd have to verify this, it can be quite challenging to get flyers approved and into the schools. Everything that comes through has to be approved. And I don't know, the last time I did it, I was a youth services librarian, but it's again, not impossible, but there was a lot of kind of hoops to run. And that makes sense because they're trying to
Sure.
make sure the kids get what they need. But I think one of the things we were looking at before was possibly seeing if we could speak or present at a PTA group or something like that. But yeah, all good ideas and things we can discuss at our marketing team meeting.
Wonderful. Do we have any additional public comment?
There are no attendees and no e-comments on this item.
Thank you. So that will move us then to K, member items and any referrals to staff.
I got a couple things. So when I first came here, I asked about the bylaws, and I have a copy from 2005, I believe is the most accurate, and maybe what, if we can agendize it to, I'll have the bylaws included in the next packet, and we can discuss whether we want to reaffirm those bylaws so that at least we have something or not, but that's my proposal, is to have the bylaws in the next meeting, which were approved back in 2005. Is there a second?
I don't know that we need to actually even do a motion. I think just as a referral to staff, that would just be included in the next.
Yeah, but we have to vote to agendize it. That's part of the issue.
Okay, sure. You need to actually phrase it as a motion then.
I move we agendize having the bylaws that have been approved previously back on the agenda for us to reaffirm.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
I have one more request. I don't know who does the seat assignments. I used to sit over in that section. I feel neglected over here. It's very difficult. So I don't know if I need a formal motion to move back into good society over there, or.
It used to be in alphabetical order with the chair in the center, and I don't know
Not
how,
a W, so.
I don't know, I don't
could
understand this.
Definitely follow up with city clerk's office and
Hey, put me over there until we get the next person on here. It's like,
The next
Well,
person has to be a.
I feel
an X,
neglected
Y, or
by
Z.
you. It's like.
Wait, who's our vice chair? Aren't you our vice chair?
Yeah.
You should
if
be
anybody
right there.
feels neglected,
Yeah.
please let me know.
You should be right there.
You should be here anyway.
Yes, you
Yeah.
should.
Give me a seat.
We'll follow up.
We'll follow up about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one referral to staff, and this is not that administrative things aren't fun, but this is around, as some of you may know, there is a partial eclipse coming to the United States in April. And there's an organization out of San Francisco State that provides free resources to libraries to help promote that. Now granted,
What was the topic? I sorry, I couldn't hear you.
the eclipse.
Oh, the eclipse,
solar
right.
eclipse.
I did forward that to our youth services librarian. I will follow up and see what the status is, but that's always a fun program, and I think it's, yeah, definitely.
I think they generally provide the protective glasses that people can
Yes.
then get from the library.
When I was a
yeah.
kid, we looked directly at the sun, which might explain a lot.
We
but-
have a space agency
Unless
that's
you're Donald
within
Trump.
Redondo Beach that might be able to
Oh.
donate a scientist as well, or some equipment.
You know what that's called?
We'll just
Yeah.
take them on loan. not-
So, okay, the last solar eclipse, the library, we all went on the deck. And we had, that was, I believe it was only a few years ago. I think it was maybe right before pandemic.
2018, I think.
Right. So
When
we
is the
all
next
had-
eclipse?
In April.
Oh, okay.
So there was a lot of people here. There were people queuing up for glasses. There were special solar glasses. But then we all gave them back, and I guess they shipped them to another country because we were just trying to share the glasses, right? So I don't, when, I know it's in April, is it a Thursday or something like that?
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Yeah, it's April 8th. The organization out of San Francisco State is one of the best ones I've seen that offers promotional materials, brochures, things like that. I don't know how, it will be partial in Southern California, so we may not get as much interest in it, but it could be fun to have an event or something like that if it's not.
Definitely. I know that when I received that information, I did forward to our youth services, the librarian, and I will, next meeting will be pretty, I think the day before then, I think.
Right, so we had glasses, we had cardboard and hole punches, to make things. And if I remember correctly, it was earlier in the morning. I don't want to say early, I would think like 8 or 9 o'clock before the library opened. And so the library did open early that day to allow people to go to the large meeting room and create their glasses and then go on the deck.
The kids are going to be in school. That's too bad, though.
It's April 8th. They won't be in school at spring break.
Oh.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I can follow up with our youth services librarian and see, if we've made any progress on reaching out to that organization. And as you said, at the very least, we can create probably a craft to make those boxes. I think they
And hold
still
camera.
use. Right, and we could, hold an event. And what time of day
Get a
is it?
colander,
Oh,
calendars make really interesting patterns. It's, I believe it's 11 or 12.
Oh, okay, so-
No, 11
oh.
or 12 Eastern, so that's 9, so that would be before the library opens. But we could still generate some interest even if it's too little notice to have an actual event.
Well, yeah, and I think, also we could do kind of a make and take craft, so they'll have it available. Let me follow up with Hilaire on that and see what we can do. And at the very least, we can promote it on our social media and on our calendar.
Cool.
So thank you.
Hopefully it's not foggy that day.
Yes.
That too.
Any other items or referrals to staff? Any last minute e-comments?
There are no e-comments and no attendees on Zoom.
Wonderful, thank you. All right then, I think we can have a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Wonderful. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 8:19.